Big question. The U.S. faced the same problem, that everything that the U.S. could make could be made cheaper somewhere else. And that led to the whole stage of globalization. And therefore, we gave away even our ability to make certain products because China could make everything cheaper. So the questioner is asking, and has a product that it sells in its country and certain other countries at a certain price, and is facing competitors who hopefully are not making as good a product. But that helps. You got to know how good if it's easy to tell when a product, what the quality of a product is, they shouldn't have to worry too much about the firm that goes cheaper on that product that's a poorer product, because you at least argue to your customers, don't you want the right product, the best product? But the trouble is, when you think of China, which makes everything, we call China the factory of the world. And originally, they were making cheap goods cheaply. They were cheap goods. They weren't well made. Mm. That's changed a great deal now. They know how to make very good quality. They not only learned it, but so did South Korea learn it. So did, and even now the Philippines. So here's the thing. I don't know if this question is coming from someone in Europe, because that's the problem for Europe that affected the U.S. too. That the goods are fairly expensive there. If it's a European firm selling to European countries and has a strong brand, they don't have to worry too much about cheaper brands being imported, I think. So the answer is, how strong is your brand? Mm-hmm. People are paying, they'll pay more for a brand that they can trust. So that's a good question, and I can't answer it more generally.
That's a good answer, and it's a good place to start, is actually looking at the strength of your brand. I've got a question now from Zarprian. How do you see the future of marketing with reference to AI and all the new forms of customer behaviors associated with this, and the channels that have opened up? That's a big question.
Yeah, I would say that AI is get into it fast. By the way, before I made a statement like that, I would have made a statement earlier that digitalization will change your business fundamentally. You got to not only be operating a business based on the digital tools, but even selling digital services. But the main point is that now AI, artificial intelligence, comes in increasingly. Now we had the feeling about AI that came from other earlier sources. Maybe many of you read about the chess game, and that suddenly the world's Russian chess master was defeated by not another master, but by an algorithm, a system that thinks through all moves and chooses the best one to make at that time. Okay, so we've always suggested that maybe we're going to be able to have robots or systems that are artificial intelligence systems, so-called because it's not a human's mind itself at that moment. It's a mind in some other form, artificial intelligence. Okay. Now, what's coming most recently is called ChatGPT. Please try it. It's very accessible. Recently, I'll tell you how I used it. I wanted to write an article about how to end the problem of billionaires. Now, what I meant by that is there are about 7,000 billionaires in the world, and they have too much money. And it's hurting the economic growth and the well-being of so many people. In other words, I would favor taxing them much more, not just the income tax, but a wealth tax. That's a personal feeling I have. So I needed information. So I went to ChatGPT, and there are many services offering it to you. You can get it from Apple, you can get it from Google. But anyways, I put the question, you type actually your name, your email, and then you type your password, because you set yourself up to be using the system. And then you type in your question. And the question was, how many millionaires are there in the world? And list the top 20 millionaires by how much they have in wealth. And that came back. So I wrote an article. Now I could have asked ChatGPT to write the article why we should tax billionaires more. And a beautiful essay. I could have even said, in 1,000 words, write an essay. And it would do it in 1,000 words, and it would be very readable. It will have a lot of facts in it too, because remember, we now have language systems that everything ever said about anything is reachable, and it can be searched for, and we can pick out of it what we want to say. Well, I wanted not to have them write the essay. I wanted to just get information from them, and then I wanted to write how I would handle the information. Okay, but let me go further, because what you're really asking is, how will it affect marketing? Well, okay, many ways. You're a copywriter. You have a new product to sell, and you have to write up what it is. So you just say to chat, you just say, I want 400 words about this new product that has the following features, and so on. And it will compose something. And then you take your pen or pencil and start editing it, because it skips some things you want to, and you want to get rid of some stuff. But it saved you a lot of time. Normally you just sit for about 20 minutes. How do I start this copy? Well, here, it will start copy for you immediately when you give it enough to start with. Now, you may go further and say, actually, the new product is a new brand of shoe. It's a sneaker. And you use chat to create a picture of a sneaker in blue, with three colors, red, white, and blue, the American colors. And it has to be for women, not men. And it should look like a size X. And it should be floating in the air. And you know, your words will create an image that you can start with. Now you have not only copy, but you have an ad that you started. So the whole point is, this new system is going to affect copywriters, advertisers, product designers, and on and on and on. So and if you want to go for help, go to your children, because your children are using, or should know how to use this, not to cheat on writing an essay and saying they composed it. No, but to rather have them use it to get started and then make sure that they don't turn in the essay as created for them by the system. No, they modified it and so on. But it will, marketers have to get to start using this.
Another question for you, Mr. Kotler, from the chat. Do you think it's crucial for every brand to have some sort of purpose behind it these days? Can a brand survive without having a purpose now?
Yes, that's become a very popular idea, and I subscribe fully to it, that it can't hurt a firm to try to say something in addition to describing their products to make your lives better. What is the basic purpose of the brand? Now, I'm going to go to the Nordic countries to give you an answer to that. Because I admire greatly their broader concept of what business is about, because purpose is built into that. The purpose of companies in Sweden, Finland, Norway, Iceland, Denmark, the purpose is to make a better well-being for people. The well-being, it's like asking Saab or any of the companies, what are you doing for the well-being of people? Now, well-being could be broken down into this. Are your people healthier? Are your people happier? Are your people better educated? Now, the purposes of all the Nordic country business firms goes back to those things, that whatever we make and sell and service, we hope that it's producing healthier, happier, and better educated people. So in all the studies of country rankings, which country has the best health, the 5 Nordic countries always come up in that list of the top 10. In any list of the 10 most happy countries, the Nordic countries are always listed. Best educated, the Nordic countries know their mathematics and their skills. Okay, so Michael, your question about is purpose important? I think it is very helpful to have a deeper cause behind your company's activities that will open up in your mind more things that you could do in your promotion and communication work. So let me get to some question that's very important here, and that is media and how you handle media. I want to distinguish everyone is aware of using paid media advertising to create interest in your company, get new buyers and triers, and hopefully keep them as advocates of your company, that they are so much in love with your company as to buy again and again. So paid media is the one we have relied on the most, namely hiring an advertising agency. And what the advertising agency would do is reach and frequency. They would create a message that they would repeat again and again on different channels, and you're paying them for managing that communication, that continuous reach and frequency. Now, that's not unimportant. It's very important to get new people to hear about you. But what's happening is it's overdone, where, oh, this is another ad from Coca-Cola, another ad from McDonald's. And I glaze over it. We glaze over a lot of these. And if that's all your communication is about in marketing, paid advertising, you're overspending on that. The second thing you might do is what we call social media. You know that people are on Facebook and they are on Google and Instagram and so on. And you set up sites. Your own Coca-Cola will have a site in social media, and maybe make a club out of it, or some force. So do what you can with the social media. That's the second form. The third is called earned medium. And maybe I would make a good case for public relations work, that we always say, yes, let's do a little public relations, but why do we call it earned media? It's that your company has done some things of value and of interest, and they should be better known. They will add to the respect your company gathers. And so you hire a public relations organization to collect news about you, news of things, interesting things happening to people in the company, and its impact as a company on the environment, on other things people care about. So do that. But now the fourth thing I would call owner media. And this is the big thing. I'm now going over a manuscript called Content Marketing. It will be published. It's not my book, but they asked me if I would endorse it. Content marketing has been neglected. Now, what does that mean? The company itself should own its own assets and use them to gain attention. For example, a company normally might have blogs. It may have an email newsletter. It may do something with podcasting. It might develop a video series describing the product and making exciting things about the product. These are owned media. In other words, we want a company to add to paid media and shared media and earned media, owned media. And there's the problem there is the CEO is going to say, what was the return on owned media? Wow, they always ask that about all of marketing. What did we get for the Facebook work we've done, and so on and so forth? We can't measure these things easily. When you get into owned media, which I think has been neglected, is the problem of no one heading it. There's no organization. There's instead a lot of miscellaneous assets owned by the company that get out there and reach their public and their target market. But any effort to coordinate them, make them better, is not shown without developing a center, a person at best, who is looking at all the owned media and how to make it all work better in developing the company's face and personality and so on. So we can say more about the media problem that can be improved on. Someone asked about D2C marketing, and I want to comment on that. Direct to consumer marketing. Now, this means you are an innovator, probably. Just think of the company called Harry's, which makes razor blades. Now, the razor blade industry is worldwide, and it is owned really by Gillette, and then there's a second or a third company, and their razor blades are found in retail stores. You go to the local drugstore or the local supermarket, and you'll find the razor blades for your razors. Now a company comes along called Harry's, And instead of it going to a retailer and say, give me some shelf space to show something that contrasts with Gillette, you gave them a lot of space. Harry's decided no. For the following reason, if they sell through the retailer, then they don't keep as much of the money that is paid for the Harry razor blades. Some of it has to go to the retailer because you're buying his share of space. Why don't I sell directly to people? Why don't I start a program of making very good razor blades called Harry's? And I'm going to get the list of people who shave, and there's every man shaves, and then get their email addresses and start an advertising campaign to tell them that our razor blades are not only good, but maybe even better than the ones in the retail store and cheaper. And why can we be cheaper? Because we're not giving away a percentage to the retailer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's direct to consumer. Now, who can do that? Let's say a lot of entrepreneurs. Let's take some women who are very good at making jewelry, and they can't get the jewelry into the retail jewelers or into the big department stores. If they can get a mailing list of women who like to buy new rings and bracelets and so on, they can reach them through direct to consumer advertising. Now, interesting enough, someone recently wrote an article saying that D2C was very big for 10 years, but it's not growing that much. Yes, possibly that's true. And maybe that means that companies are buying up, big companies that are the leaders in the field, working through retailers, are buying successful D2C companies so that they can either get them out of the competition or use them as a second brand, another brand. Now, so much for D2C. I encourage young people to really think of something that they might create for customers and not go through the retailers. Though there's always a choice. You can knock on the door of a retailer and they might get very excited about what you've got and know it's different, and they can give you shelf space. That's a decision for you as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another question that came up was interesting, and that is has to do with if you have a very good name, a premium brand, should you also go down a level and make a version of it? Now, let's mention premium brands in the fashion industry as an example. We think of Christian Dior. We think of Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Hermes, Gucci. And so the question is this: you're making a better product. We assume that you're not faking it. You're not an average product at a high price. People are being fooled by you. No, you are making better products. The Rolex watch is a very good product. Okay. But should Rolex put out a Rolex Junior? Or we won't call it that, but it's made by Rolex and it's a more affordable one. It's not $30,000. Okay. Or it used to be $5,000 Rolex. In fact, people who owned a Rolex watch but didn't have much money, they would often say, I'd like that appliance and I'll give you my Rolex watch to keep for a while until I get my cash, and then I want my watch back and I'll pay the price. And the seller, is happy to hold the Rolex as an account, knowing that the guy's going to buy back the Rolex. And if not, they can sell the Rolex and get their money that way. Okay. So what should we say about doing that? So let's be very specific. Let's say Gucci wants to make a pair of jeans for the average person. But if they want to make a pair of jeans called Gucci jeans, I would say that if it's very special in the way they created it, they can charge the Gucci prices. But maybe they want to expand to the larger market, make it a mass market jean. Will that hurt Gucci's premium work? Mm-hmm. Yes, it could. It could. And I've seen a few fashion houses that wanted to grow in the mass market, and they use their very name to make it easy to get into recognition. People knew about that name, rather than create a brand new name and not confuse it with Gucci or Rolex or whatever. So I would say the best person to read on this is Professor David Acker, who's our branding expert in the world. And he has dealt with the question of how far you can go with a premium image to go into the mass market. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. Any other questions came up before I go to some other questions?
We have a question from Armani, who also, I think, has a brand of her own. She says they managed to get to the brand awareness phase in the communication endeavors, and now they want to step further and educate their audience. Would you recommend use of email? What role does email and direct still play today? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Here's the thing. Email is a very important tool, and it depends on getting the names of the best prospects. So the first piece of work that has to be done is who might be deeply interested in what you're offering and are presently buying the solutions from competitors, and why is your solution better than the existing ways people are going to get that satisfaction? Now, if you haven't got an answer to that, you're not in the right new business. So you have a way to know that your price is either going to be lower, and therefore, by the way, making a price lower than the average price has worked for Walmart. It has worked for so many people. And it's the scare that companies get when some product comes in at a lower price than they can make their normal margin at. And you know, the famous person Clayton Christensen from Harvard made a point about what he called the disruptive product. So one way to win with some new offering is you're offering a disruptive product. Mostly it's lower in price. And what it does is it gets new people to come into the market who want to be in that new market, but they couldn't afford what was being offered by competitors in that market. Now, that new offering is not as good as the existing products and competitors. It's not as good. Do you know that the first Japanese cars that came from Toyota, and Toyota, you know, owns the car market in many parts of the world. The first ones to come into the United States were crappy cars, but they were cheaper. You could buy your Dodge or your Buick, and they would break down. But what happened to Toyota is they opened up the market to people who couldn't buy a car. In other words, they fought what is called non-consumption. The enemy is non-consumption, people who do not buy or own a car. We're going to destroy non-consumption by coming out with a crappy product, which is priced low, and we'll keep making it better. So there were some people who bought the early Toyotas, and they may have been unhappy, but they said, at least I have a car. And they noticed that maybe I can, that the company came out with a slightly better view. The Toyota company came out with an improvement. So they will try to switch to that. And before you know that, they're taking share away from the expensive cars. And they're getting better. And that's this story that you can read if you read Clayton Christensen's work on what we call disruptive products. He did it for the steel industry. He showed how just recycled steel could be sold instead of fresh steel and at a lower price by a new method of remaking the steel, and it took over. Okay,
Mr. Kotler, there's a sort of question in some ways that follows on from this line of thought, asked by Prasenjit. I hope I've said your name correctly. Do you think with this sort of AI potential, the metaverse, ChatGPT, which you've just talked about, do you think that will actually reduce the requirements and importance of sales and marketing people, or quite the contrary? Do you think we'll need more people to manage all this stuff?
Oh, good question. Of course, it sounds like it might displace some of our marketing staff because more could be done with less. Mm-hmm. You know, I can see the CEO saying, we don't need as many people because we can get to develop answers faster now with Chat GPT. Yes, that could happen. I haven't come across that ever being done recently by a company that I know of, that they reduce their marketing budgets are being reduced, by the way, for other reasons too. As a matter of fact, I was working with a company where the finance officer says, you know, let's give marketing less money next time and sales more money. Now, most of you know there's a difference between marketing and sales. One of marketing's tools is the sales force. Mm-hmm. And the salespeople always argue that more money should be spent on salespeople, real people who are going to go out in the market and sell things for you, than to spend it on advertising, which comes and goes. You see a commercial and you don't even remember it. So there's always I can give you a whole talk about how to get marketing and sales to work better together. Mm-hmm. But we'll do that some other time. But here's the thing. Yes, I would suspect that some companies getting very quickly into using chat will reduce some staff members. It's quite possible, unless the use of chat ends up growing your business, growing your sales so much that you can afford all the people you have working for you in marketing. So it's not fair for me to say it will cause some reduction in marketing staff. What if one of its uses is to make you more effective in what that you need more marketers now. So it can go either way.
Very interesting. And there's a question again, sort of in the same line of thoughts, to do with advertising agencies from Maurice. Every time there's inflation or a crisis, the first thing businesses want to do, of course, is cut marketing. So how do marketers and advertising agencies stay relevant in these changing times? And obviously, especially as they're also being challenged by these AI tools.
Yes. Let me define a little more about media strategy, because that's where advertising agencies get in. I want to make a distinction between four types of media that agencies deal with. One is called paid media, of course, and it's not the only kind, but paid media is advertising. You're buying ads, you're buying TV commercials, you're putting money into newspapers with ads and so on. Paid media is very familiar, and using paid media effectively is a big problem, because if you don't know what you're getting back, it's unfortunate. If you don't have what we want ideally, which would be a return on marketing advertising. And the second type, but let me go on. The second type of media we call shared media. It's when you work with social media, that is Facebook, Google and other things, Instagram. When you work there, you could have even your company's name there as being active in the social media, giving ideas to your customers and reading what's in their mind. So shared media is another kind that we have to think well about. And then there's earned media. Now, earned media is when your company has a lot of positives and you actually do good public relations. What is public relations about anyways? I called it, it's about what earned media. Their job is to get news out about that celebrates your company's doing good, making the best quality, whatever it is. Have you done enough to use earned media, positives about your business that is being broadcast by public relations people? And then the fourth type is called owner media. And I'll give you examples of, these are things that are under your full control as a company. Do you have a resource center that is there to answer questions for customers that come to you? They know that they can call your resource center, it will solve their problem. Maybe there's a dispute about whether a bill was paid or not. What about educational platforms that you own and operate? You have the platform that a lot of people, not only your customers, they come to use your platform for help. Blogs, are you using your blogs well? In other words, we don't talk about the advertising matter. You run your own blogs. That's an asset. Are you doing a good job? What about your email newsletters, your podcasts, your video service, and so on? So you have your own media. Now, the question originally came up with one type called advertising, which is paid media. And I know there will be questions you have about the 30-second commercial. Normally we watch a lot of commercials, and the next day, if someone asks you what commercials did you see, you can't remember. And if you say, well, I know it was a car commercial. Now that's an easy one because that's all you're getting, basically, car commercials all the time, but you don't remember the car. Well, no, it advertised the car as being fast. Yeah, but I can't think of which car that was. So there's a lot of questioning about the huge expense of producing a TV commercial. I mean, we're talking about some millions to do a good commercial, and then the cost of its media to get it out there. And then those of you who have watched carefully what is the big football game every year, where the best commercials, the most expensive commercials are going to be aired.
The Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. And every great company, Coca-Cola will definitely have, every one of the Starbucks will have its, and half of them are not very good. My university, Northwestern University, does a rating system on that very day and evening and rates immediately good, bad, or awful commercial. And half of them are wastes of money. But let's not get into any depth on particular forms of advertising right now. Michael, I think we're running out of time.
Well, yeah, it's one final question, which actually goes in a slightly different direction, which is actually about loyalty programs. It's some interesting. I think it might take the discussion in a new direction. Speaking of the tourism. Sorry, start again. Speaking of the tourism industry, frequent flyer programs,
Yes.
What strategies do you recommend to return to loyalty after the pandemic and various other problems with travel? How can we get people back to being loyal?
Yeah. The word is going around marketing circles now that loyalty is dead. It's not something you can trust. That 2 cents off would destroy loyalty. If I could save 2 pennies, I will switch. Especially, and then you ask who's switching? Is it the low-income people only, or is it a lot of people? The thing is that there are loyalty programs, by the way, and they do have an impact. American Airlines was probably the leader in starting a well thought out program where you get points, and the points can be allow you to get to first class service if you want to use your 40,000 points for getting a better seat in the plane, and then the points. The question people ask who fly a lot is, I've got so many points, can I turn it into money? And then the loyalty company has to figure, it would be good if the loyalty company can say, well, no, just turn it into more flights. Give flights for your family, your relatives, let them use the points. They don't want to turn it into cash exactly. But I think let's talk about it next time if this comes up again about do you want to formulate a loyalty program? What types of loyalty programs are available? Are they worth the cost of running the loyalty program as opposed to using the money in another way that will produce more loyalty without a loyalty program? So thanks for that question, Michael.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Kotler. It's been a fabulous session. I think it's time for us to come to an end, but we are delighted to know that we'll be back. Right. And thank you, Mr. Kotler, sir, for some very interesting thoughts. I loved your start with some very interesting ideas, particularly the futurist mindset has got me thinking about companies and, how do they address that issue and what we should all do. There's a great quote, isn't there? Standing still is the best way of going backwards.
Right.
So it reminded me of that. So anyway, thank you, sir, for spending some time with us and sharing your great wisdom and experience and knowledge. It's always a delight to listen, and very inspiring too. So that's why we'll wind up the session now. Great to have had you all with us. You can, of course.
I'm going to leave now. And yes, thank you so much. I look forward to meeting you again.
Thank you, sir. So, how did you like today's webinar? If you enjoyed it as much as I did, you can have such meetings with Mr. Kotler every month. We arrange closed group Zoom meetings where you can ask your questions directly and discuss the material more easily. How great is that? You see, this is a part of a big next MBA course, which includes dozens of lectures on many topics from different fields, such as marketing, leadership, trends and technologies, etc., etc. And the content really is extraordinarily good. The link to the course has appeared on your screen several times already, and you probably had a chance to take a look at our course's description. All of our speakers are recognized professionals with world famous names like Philip Kotler, Brian Tracy, Lars Silberbaum, Martin Lindstrom, Daniel Kahneman, and many, many others. They really are an inspiring bunch of speakers. And the speakers at Next MBA, the speakers at Next MBA have lots of insights to share, having experience of working in global companies like Meta, Samsung, Lego, Netflix, etc., etc. They really are an extraordinary lineup of professionals. Our lectures are held live. We don't record lectures and use them for many years. The world is, after all, changing very, very fast, and we can only use relevant content to make our course the best and most up-to-date online course for marketers, executives, and other professionals. And the price. The price is really affordable, as we at Next MBA accessible and available for everyone. Joining the Next MBA course, you join an international community with members from all around the world. It is an extraordinary group of people with a broad variety of backgrounds and skills and experience, and are a delight to meet. Oh, I see that Julia has already joined the course. Wow. Great job, Julia, and congratulations. Please check your email. The login info was sent to you there. So great to have you with us, Julia. Big welcome. And so what are the rest of you waiting for? Follow the link and you can join the course too. Oh, there is, of course, a question about the price. Good question. Special for today's webinar members, the price is $299. As a bonus, exclusive sessions with Philip Kotler are included in your course. Yes, usually we charge extra for those, but only today, if you follow the link and join our program, sign up, you'll get access to these question and answer sessions for free, and they really are worth it.